Hello, everybody, and welcome to the February 21st Trips and Traps. Andy Serling, joined by Richard Migliore.
And glad to be here for Trips and Traps. Instead of cold and snow, we've got a show to do.
Yes, we certainly have lost a lot of racing days due to the bad weather. We ran 3 of the 6 scheduled days last week. We found 3 races to look at, and the first one is one I really want to get Richie's opinion of. This is a horse who, on paper, was the controlling speed of this race and possibly the best horse in Mr. Point. Mr. Point slightly misses the break, and after that, the jockey decides to be very unaggressive with her. And I really want to get Richie's take on what you do in those circumstances, because I think it completely blew up in his face, and I think, if nothing, he was completely unaggressive.
Yeah, no, well, he was unaggressive. We're talking about Angel Cruz on Mr. Point, and she did miss the break a little bit. But now you've got to make a decision. Either go forward or try to tuck in and get someplace where at least you're saving some ground. Now, me personally, it appeared to me the horses on the lead were looking around for someone to take the initiative. And I think if he had gone on, they would have allowed him to go on.
No, I felt like that was the case as well. And instead, and she's easy to see, she's the blue horse on the outside, she ends up, to me, in one of the more unenviable positions, chasing wide the entire way behind a slow pace that never comes back to her. And once that decision was made, she basically had no chance.
Well, no chance, because now if you decide to go forward now at any time in the middle of the race, they're just going to speed up in front of you. You had your opportunity early to go ahead and seize the day, and when you didn't, now you're the victim. The race is going to be dictated to you, and you can see the soft trip that the first 2 horses got, and they ran 1-2 around the racetrack.
No, they did, and one of them was one of the favorites, Story Lay on the inside. The other one was the eventual winner, the longest shot on the board at 27-1. And credit Kendrick Carmouche for giving a very good heads-up ride. The blinkers may have helped in their 46 start. Mr. Point makes a nice run at him here, but she's not that she runs out of run for her. It's that the other ones were going so slowly, they speed up in front of her.
Well, they're speeding up in front of her. I mean, they came home, pretty well for the inner track. And actually, where she tried to make up the most ground was around the second turn, which is the third quarter, which is the fastest part of this race.
No, they came home as fast, Richie, as they did the third quarter. And that just shows how much they had left.
Yeah, so, you look at it and you go, all right, you understand why maybe he made the decision, I'm not going to go. But when you look over and see 2 guys that are both kind of looking around, where's the speed? Oblige them, go on. And then you have an opportunity, because now you're wide on both turns. And what do we talk about all the time? You can afford to be wide on 1 turn, but 2 turns on the inner track, you have to be so much the best to be wide both turns.
Yeah, and it definitely blew up in his face. I think so. One of the problems is you've got to be prepared. You've got to have looked at, you have to know who are the prices in here, who are the favorites, who do I have to keep an eye on, and what is the best scenario for me. And it just doesn't feel like any of those things took place. Angel Cruz is going to have a very good career ahead of him. I just think these are some of the things he needs to learn as he goes forward. And that's what happens with apprentices, because we get a lot of these good apprentices riding in the winter, but the inner track is the trickiest track we have to ride.
It really is. And you have to, like you said, do your homework. Understand the horses around you, the psychology of the riders around you, who you want to be inside of, outside of, who you want to be aggressive around. Obviously, if you break like that and Chucky Lopez is in front of you, you know he's going to continue on. But when you look up and see 2 riders, Kendrick Carmouche and Jose Ortiz, kind of looking around for you, go ahead, go on. You really have to understand every asset facet, I should say, of the game to be successful on the inner track.
Right, and lose to your strengths. If you lose at your strengths, then there's nothing you can complain about. But when you give up your potential advantage, then perhaps you cost the horse the victory. Now, the start didn't help as well. We're going to take a look at another race when a couple of horses get in trouble, and it's not really the rider's fault in them. We're going to look at the 3 Vitani, who runs second, and the 4 Relax. None of these horses were beating the 9 Mine for Life, who wins easily, but both of them get in some trouble around the backstretch into the turn, our favorite spot for trouble, Richie.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I thought Kendrick Carmouche did a really good job on the eventual runner-up, Vitani. He tried to hold position. He went forward as much as he could, and he's on a horse that's a green horse, not a first-time starter, and kind of backed up, I thought, a little bit, Andy, from the kickback, where the 4 kind of got caught in a tough position.
Yeah, he's down the inside, and you can see it, and the 4 is caught between horses. Here's what I would say with the 4, and this is easy for me to say, and it's also as a Monday morning quarterback. The 3 gets unlucky, as you say. The kickback, caught behind the 2, who backs up a little earlier than would be expected. A first-time starter, you don't know it's going to back up. if the 4 had gotten its position going forward a little more at the start, the thing is, and we talk about this, if you're moving forward at the start, you can create some separation, and it makes so you won't get in situations where the field bunches, because you can see when they bunch, that's when you get in trouble. The 3 got shuffled back, at least got to go around, and Carmouche did a good job. The 4 was always caught between a rock and a hard place.
Yeah, and you can see the 4 now, like, having to steady back a little bit, searching for room. He's going to try to come out here, but Kendrick Carmouche has got first run on him now because he got to the outside. What Angel Arroyo needed to do on relax was not relax. When the 9, Mine for Life, kicked on, you've got to be right in behind that horse and follow his wake. You think about harness racing, they say follow live cover. Well, that was the livest of cover.
Yeah, and it's not as though he had no horse. And once again, the 9 was the best horse in this race. There's no complaint. The 9 was going to win this race. But I think a little bit more aggression early. The aggression is going to separate the field and decrease significantly the chances of your horse being caught in a difficult spot. And all it does is help other horses that maybe don't belong in there.
Well, yeah, you know, one thing I always talked a lot about race riding with Angel Cordero, and he said he never wanted to be caught behind horses that were naturally slower than his horse. It made it much more difficult for his horse to use his energy properly. Instead of, you know, using your energy going forward, you're using your energy fighting traffic and trying to get through, you know, between horses and stuff. So Angel was always aggressive leaving the gate, and that was his philosophy behind it, and I think that still holds true to this day.
No question about it. It's a very insightful thought by him, and it sets the table for the race. And why not set the table in your favor as opposed to possibly to your disadvantage?
Yeah, I mean, and again, knowing your horses, I mean, obviously you've got a horse that's like a rank speed horse. You're not going to send him out of there, but 90% of horses aren't rank, and it's up for the rider to know the horse's capabilities.
Yeah, well, it's interesting moving forward as we go to the next race. And this is a situation where I think Junior Alvarado was just unlucky with Woodford Pine, because this is a horse that ran very, very well. The most aggressive guy got it done, and it was once again an under-aggressive ride by Angel Cruz on the 4-horse Andrews Got Zipped that eliminated any chance he had. The 3-horse True Bet gets in trouble, partly because he gets left. The 6 Sabonic, the heavily bet first-time star from Todd Pletcher, I don't think he ran that well. The first one that ran well was the Chad Brown horse, Woodford Pine, who finished second. This horse just didn't know what it was doing in his first start, but probably should have won.
Well, this is a replay I feel like you need to watch 6 or 7 times to be able to talk about every situation. But let's talk about Angel Cruz on Andrews Got Zip. And I don't want to sound like I'm piling on Angel Cruz. We both agree. We think he's a kid with ability. But here is a clear-cut example of you have to hold your position and you have to go forward. And you have to be aware that the 5-horse in red, going to the lead right now, is 75-1. You do not want to allow yourself to be stuck behind him, because at some stage he is coming back in your face.
Well, look at what happens by the under-aggressive ride. I mean, horses that were in bad positions have all ended up in front of you. He's riding a horse that is the clear-cut speed on paper. He's been fast in all his races. He made the lead after stumbling last time in a monstrous 3-horse duel, and instead he's restraining with the back of the pack and taking away any advantage he has. So he's in the 2-path. Now, he's back here. He's lost all chance. The 3's had trouble and got shuffled and got out there. The 8 is just a hard horse to handle. Sabonic, the first-time starter, he actually got in position to win it. He just wasn't that good enough. It was a track that was kinder to speed, and that helped the 7. I still think the 7 may have been the best prepared horse for the race, but all those things keep coming back to the fact that the 8 ran the best race, Richie.
Well, the 8 absolutely did run the best race. Woodford Pine broke out at the start, which horses tend to do, especially green horses, run to empty space. And then around the turn, he was running away from horses, just being green, and then eventually in the stretch kind of got her head dropped down, never did change leads. He did, I should say, and finished up. I think that was the best horse, ultimately the horse you want going forward. Again, we're going to go back to Andrews Got Zip. Maybe had no run anyway, but had no opportunity the way he was ridden. And it seems to me that Angel Cruz, someone maybe got in his head he needs to be a patient rider, a come-from-behind rider. As a rider, you have to be a chameleon. You have to be able to adapt to every circumstance and every horse and ride that horse to that horse's strengths.
And the interesting thing about Angel Cruz is he's very good on speed horses.
Yes.
When he's aggressive and he sends horses, he does very well with them. But you're right, it just feels like you can't ride every horse the same. You've got to adapt, and you've got to be prepared. And you've got to watch these races over and over again. And hopefully you're doing that, and you're giving us some help. It's Trips and Traps at NYRank.com.